£158 lost, 7 months on Mounjaro, and I quit 5 months ago, and I've been maintaining. But in all honesty, this week I feel like I've made a massive mistake. I'll start by saying this isn't about the scales. I haven't even weighed myself this week because in all reality, the scales are just not my priority. This is about diet fatigue and why I feel like Mounjaro is a trap. This all started with a training event. I don't know if you've been to any sort of training events with your work. In my line of work, they don't put on a lavish buffet. There's no sort of, it's like tea and coffee, a couple of biscuits that are stale, nothing else. However, this work event was different. There was a really lavish sort of tea party, cakes, biscuits, sandwiches. I'd woke up that day, food noise absolutely rampant. I went to sleep with the food noise, I woke up with the food noise. I sat in the event and I realised that I wasn't going to be able to control myself. If I started, I genuinely didn't think I would be able to stop. And I was watching the people around me just sort of eating like the odd sandwich, having a cake, talking about how nice they were. And I was filled with this sort of real envy at the way that these people were just using food for what it was and they were enjoying it. And I was sat there with this internal sort of battle going on about, I really want a little sandwich. I really want a cucumber sandwich. I really want to have a cake. I really want to have a biscuit. But I knew that I'd be able to hold it together in the event. It would be afterwards, the drive home, for example, that I wouldn't be able to. And that thought just consumed my mind. And then it led me to a place of, why have I got to have this struggle? For 25 years I've battled this. And even though I'm thin now, that battle is still very much going on. And the thing is, ever since I've used Mounjaro and then stopped Mounjaro, and ever since I brought that bleeding pen, which has been in my fridge, I've had this default setting of exactly the same as it used to be when I used to think about, right, well, you can eat what you want today because tomorrow you're going to just go on protein shakes or you're just going to do a liquid fast. It's that same default position of you can eat what you want because you can just use Mounjaro tomorrow and you don't even have to order it. It's in the fridge. And I'm sick of feeling that way. I'm sick of being dominated by food and I'm sick of having to worry about it. And I think I've hit diet fatigue, and this always happens in every diet. And I'm not saying I'm on a diet. If you've seen the What I Eat in a Day, give it a check out, but you'll see that I'm not eating quote unquote diet foods. I'm eating high calorie, high fiber, high protein foods that I actually enjoy. I'm just sick of constantly being consumed by a plan or food. This week that's hit me really hard, and it all started with that event. I feel like I've hit a brick wall in terms of I'm sick of having that battle. And whilst every time I've had this battle before, I've not got where I wanted to be. So I may have been part of the way on my journey, maybe quite significantly a part of the way on my journey, or somewhere near, but I was never here. And now there's an additional conflict of you're where you never expected to be. And I'm not. I never expected to be 9 stone something. But it's like now you really have something to lose. And I feel like recently that's amped up the pressure. So how do you tackle diet fatigue when you're not really on a diet anymore? And I think that's a real conundrum because I'm not really on a diet. I'm just in a maintenance, but I'm bored and I'm just sick of thinking about food all of the time in both ways. So not just the food noise, but thinking about what can be a healthier choice. Being fat, there's a trapping because you're fat and you're miserable and all of those things, and the health, there is that, and I'm not denying that. But also when you're fat, there is at least I found, I had a freedom when it came to, I didn't think in the moment about what I ate. I just ate what I wanted. And I don't have that now. I have to be conscious, particularly because I'm not on Mounjaro and particularly because of the food noise, that I have to think carefully about my food choices and my lifestyle choices. And I'm just bored at the moment. So how do I plan to tackle this? Because I do plan to tackle this. For anybody that's watched these videos or anybody that knows me or knows me personally will know that one of my superpowers is ambition. I'm determined and I am absolutely not going back. But I also don't want to go back to Mounjaro. I think I've always had my reservations about it, and I know that there's a huge sort of counter side at like, no, GLP's for life and it's amazing, and I'm not saying that it isn't, but I also think that there's a lot that we don't know, and I don't really want to be, any more than I've already put myself forward, being a bit of a guinea pig. I have health anxiety and that already worries me, so it's like a constant juxtaposition to be in. Need to embrace something else. So what I'm doing about it, ramble, is I'm changing up my diet. As I said, I'm gonna try the carnivore diet for a little bit, but again, also it's like another diet. I'm gonna reframe this around, I'm just trying different ways of eating to see what fits. Simply, that's what I'm doing. In terms of the pen, the Mounjaro pen, I tried to give it to my local pharmacy. They didn't want it because they hadn't given me the prescription, is what she said. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I have given the pen to somebody who is using Mounjaro. I didn't take any money for it. They asked, could I have it? we were having a conversation. They've just transitioned to Mounjaro from Wegovy. Yes, I said, yeah, absolutely, you can have it. They're like, let me pay you. I'm like, I don't want the money, take the pen. Yes, I've lost out on a couple of £100, but ultimately that pen, the more recently, has just been screaming out to me. And I know it's made the conflict of food and wanting to binge much more difficult. So it's an absolute relief to get it off my hands and know that it can benefit someone else. So that's what I'm doing. Plain and simple, but I do feel that there's always that counter, that niggle, isn't there? Like, you don't need to struggle. You do not need to struggle. You can use that pen. I think I'm always going to struggle, and I think it's accepting that I'm always going to struggle, and I think it's accepting that I've sort of hit a plateau in terms of diet fatigue, and that is a real thing. So that's what I'm doing. Hopefully that has some sort of impact positively. As I said, I haven't weighed myself. Honestly, at this point this week, it's the last thing on my mind. If I stood on the scales and it said I was £7 up, or if I stood on the scales and it said I was £7 down, genuinely wouldn't care, because it's just not where I'm at this week. I'm trying to remove myself as much as possible. So I am going to be documenting the change up to foods that I make. As I said, next week I am going to try the carnivore, and I will document that for you. But I'm also experimenting with some other recipes, and I'll be uploading a few of those. So hopefully people don't get bored of that. Again, if this video has been helpful in any way, or it's resonated with you and you think, yeah, that is the battle, because I think for many of us it is, please do like and give the video a hype. And if you haven't, please do consider subscribing and follow this journey. Get linked in with the community. Everybody's massively helpful. And I will see you in the next one. And hopefully these little voices that are popping up all over the place have sort of quietened down a bit. I managed to move past this diet lifestyle fatigue, because I'll be honest, it's driving me mad.